In the summer of 1518, the city of Strasbourg, then part of the Holy Roman Empire, experienced one of the most unusual and best documented public health crises in European history. It began quietly, with a single woman. Her name, according to the city's records, was Frau Trophäa. In mid-July, she stepped into the street and started to dance. She did not appear to be celebrating, nor was she participating in any festival. She simply moved, continuously, with a kind of restless, uncontrolled energy. At first, people assumed she was stressed or possibly ill, but as hours passed, and then an entire night passed, Frau Trophäa continued without stopping. Contemporary accounts note that she danced for several days. Her feet blistered, her body weakened, yet she appeared unable to stop. Nobody understood what was happening, but soon it became clear this was not an isolated incident. Within a week, around 30 more people had joined her. Men and women from different parts of the city suddenly began dancing in the streets. They weren't smiling. They weren't having fun. Many looked distressed, confused, and exhausted. They collapsed, rested only briefly, and then returned to dancing. By late July, city officials realized this was no small problem. Strasbourg's population at the time was around 30,000 people, and hundreds gathered to watch this strange phenomenon unfold. Some estimates suggest that by early August, anywhere from 200 to 400 people were dancing uncontrollably. This event is known today as the Dancing Plague of 1518. One of the reasons this event is taken seriously by historians is the amount of documentation surrounding it. Strasbourg kept detailed municipal records. Local physicians wrote notes. Clergymen preached sermons about the outbreak. These sources confirm that this was not a rumor, not a legend, and not an exaggerated tale passed down through generations. It was a real crisis that affected an entire city. The dancers showed clear signs of physical strain. Many suffered from dehydration and extreme fatigue. Some injured their feet and legs from continuous movement on hard streets. Although later storytellers claimed that dozens of people danced themselves to death, modern historians point out that the exact number of fatalities was not recorded. However, considering the medical limitations of the time, no understanding of dehydration, heart stress, or heat stroke, it is extremely likely that some people died as a result of the strain. The city government was desperate for answers. Strasbourg's physicians were consulted, and in a rare break from medieval superstition, they concluded that the cause was not demonic possession or witchcraft. Instead, they argued the dancers suffered from hot blood, a term connected to the theory of bodily humors. According to this medical system, imbalances within the body could trigger unusual behaviors. The recommended treatment for hot blood was simple. Let the afflicted continue whatever action their body was forcing them to do until the imbalance corrected itself. Acting on this advice, the city authorities made a decision that seems shocking today. They encouraged more dancing. They cleared guild halls and built platforms specifically for the dancers. Musicians, including drummers and pipers, were hired to keep people moving. The goal was to allow the dancers to purge themselves of the sickness. This approach, however, may have made the outbreak worse. Instead of reducing the number of dancers, the added structure and the presence of music may have encouraged more people to join in. The city's records show that the council eventually had to reverse this policy when it became clear the situation was spiraling out of control. To understand why this event spread so rapidly, historians look closely at the conditions in Strasbourg in 1518. This period was marked by significant hardship. The region had suffered from crop failures, leading to widespread hunger. Bread prices were extremely high, and many families struggled to survive. Epidemics of diseases like smallpox had weakened the population. Political tensions within the Holy Roman Empire added to the atmosphere of fear and instability. Religious pressure also played a major role. People believed strongly in the power of saints to punish or protect them. In particular, Saint Vitus was associated with uncontrollable movement. Medieval Europeans believed that angering him could result in a curse that forced victims to dance. This belief was not limited to Strasbourg. Similar outbreaks, though smaller, were recorded in the Rhine region in earlier centuries. Given this environment, many historians argue that the dancing plague was most likely a form of mass psychogenic illness. This does not mean the dancers were faking. It means that extreme stress, poverty, and religious fear created a psychological state in which physical symptoms spread socially. The mind, overwhelmed by anxiety and trauma, can produce real, involuntary physical actions. When enough people experience this simultaneously, the phenomenon becomes collective. Another theory that was popular for many years was ergot poisoning. Ergot is a fungus that grows on rye in damp conditions. Consuming it can cause hallucinations, muscle spasms, and convulsions. Some researchers once believed that contaminated bread might have caused the outbreak, but modern experts have mostly rejected this explanation. Ergot usually causes violent cramps and loss of limbs, not rhythmic movement for days. It also tends to disable victims, not keep them mobile. By early August, the city shifted strategies. Authorities banned music and dancing entirely. Stages were dismantled. The government then ordered that the dancers be taken to a shrine dedicated to Saint Vitus in the nearby town of Saverne. There, priests performed rituals intended to relieve spiritual distress. The dancers were given red shoes, which were believed to protect them from supernatural harm. Over the following days and weeks, the dancing gradually faded. By September, the event had ended. People returned to their homes and Strasbourg resumed daily life. But the memory of the outbreak remained strong enough to be recorded in official documents. What makes the dancing plague historically valuable is how much it reveals about life in early 16th century Europe. It shows how communities responded to unexplained events, how medical and religious ideas shaped public health decisions, and how psychological stress can manifest in dramatic ways. Modern scholars continue to study the dancing plague because it challenges our assumptions about how societies behave under extreme pressure. Today, psychologists use the event as a case study in the relationship between culture, belief, and physical behavior. It is a reminder that even well-documented history can sometimes feel mysterious, and that human behavior is deeply influenced by the world people live in, their fears, their environment, and their beliefs. Over 500 years later, historians still debate smaller details of the event, but the core facts remain clear. In 1518, for reasons rooted in the culture and pressures of the time, hundreds of people in Strasbourg danced uncontrollably. They danced publicly, visibly, and long enough that their city government had to intervene. The dancing plague remains one of the most extraordinary social and medical events ever recorded in European history.